I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. All right. Can we get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. And can we get a motion to approve the minutes from both March 10th, 2025 and our multi-board meeting? So moved. We're looking for.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
You're good there. All right, school committee chairperson comments, that's me. Just gonna make one quick kind of comment tonight to kind of get this off. I think if anybody looks at the calendar, and I just did myself, but we are 37 days and counting until we hit our town meetings. And so if I pull the data correctly, Upton's is gonna be on Thursday, May 1st, Thursday night, and Mendon's will be the following night, Friday, May 2nd. So I know this has been a rush of a process that we've gotten here. But I think, you know, collectively as a board and administrators, everybody else, we're gonna have a lot of work to do over the next week. So I think it's just be important for us all to stay in touch. This morning, sending out some notes and set up some presentations, etc. I've got 2 that I'm lined up to do. I think next Thursday night I'm gonna do both the Boy Scouts, and then I volunteered to do the Misco PTO a couple weeks later, and then everybody can sign up and take some and share them. We can divide and conquer through that. No, and I also just want to take this opportunity to thank Maureen and Jay. I know the last 6 weeks have been a boatload of work. You guys have had 3 jobs of running the school, doing all the things to get the budget committee meeting together, or the budget meeting together, open meeting, and then also trying to plan all of our capital movements. So work is certainly recognized, and I know you guys have been on triple duty. And please do not hesitate to yell and scream when you guys need help over the next 37 days, because you'll always hear stuff, and text us, email us, but scream, be loud at us. We're here to help. With that, we can turn it over to community comments. If anybody in the room is here for community comments, Sam, anybody raise your hands? Wonderful. All right, with that, we are done with public comments for tonight. Next up, we've got student comments. We've got a group here tonight from Buck Elementary School to talk about Student Science Symposium.
All right, I am so excited to be able to bring some of our 4th graders here tonight, and they have prepared what they're going to share with you. So I'm actually not going to do much talking. I'm just here as moral support, but they're going to be great. So I'm going to have Liam start us off, and make sure you introduce yourself too before you talk.
All right. Hi, my name is Liam, and we're here tonight representing Miss Walensky's 4th grade class. We have been invited to present at Nipmuc Science Symposium on April 1st during the school day. We get to travel by bus from Clough to the high school, and we get to have a pizza lunch at the high school.
Hi, my name is Avelina. We have tripod that we will be using to present our projects at the symposium. We have been working mostly in groups of 3 and 4. Miss Walensky had us bring recyclable materials, and then she told us to work together to make something that would be helpful for the environment. My name is Zoe, and we want to tell you a little bit about some of our projects. We all have been using the design process, which includes ask, explore, model, evaluate, and explain. And we have been utilizing our POL superpower of being skillful, collaborative. My name is Lucy. My project is a self-watering seed holder. So some of the challenges that I had were like
like making the seeds grow and
Tell me more kind of what you did for your, how you made it.
like how I made it was like used a cupcake holder and pulled the sticker off the top so that there was like a little bullet stuck. We poked some holes into that indent and then we put a water bottle over it so that it wouldn't spill. So then we poured water in, but then it leaked out the side, so we put tape around it and back. Then it worked, and we planted seeds in it.
And you want to talk a little bit about your other connection with the science symposium?
And so my mom is a microbiologist, and she's going to be a judge at the symposium.
All right, let's see who's next. Oh, Amelia and Zoe, you want to talk about your projects?
Our project is like making a crafting table, and some of the challenges are we couldn't really get one of the little cup holders that would hold the pencils and markers and tape and stuff to stay up. But we're still kind of working on it, but we got it most to stay up.
Anything about with the project? Nope, that good. All right, how about Sterling, and you want to talk about your projects?
So you want to go first? Our project is a water filter. The challenges was when we like cut the top, we couldn't get it to like stay, so we had to put tape. But then also, we also couldn't put a hole at the cap, so we had to take the cap off, put fabric, and then tie it on.
Anything else about the projects?
And it was also a little bit, we also had a little bit of a struggle with our team, but at the end, we eventually did get it.
What are some of the things that each of the people in your team do, like when you're working together?
When we're working together, so Winston is, yeah, he gives ideas. I kind of direct the team like a little bit. Then Quinn, which is not here, is the writer of our team, and James, which is also not here, he does some of the other tasks, which is just the small tasks. So he kind of cleans up our work just a little bit.
It's a good team.
Yeah.
Do you want to say Winston at the end there?
Hi, my name's Winston. Do you have any questions for us?
All right, so like the seed project is especially important to me because we're trying to build seeds for our garden. So sounds like a perfect project.
What kind of seeds are they?
Bean seeds.
Oh, nice.
Can I share our seed story from earlier today when we were talking about coming to talk to you tonight? Lucy was sharing the dilemma they had of like not just the design, but then getting the seeds to actually grow. And Liam said, oh, he was giving her some advice about the seeds and about to stick with it and persevere, that he felt like they weren't going to start growing. So it was just really nice to see, the teamwork that has happened, not just within their small teams, but across the classroom. So very excited for.
What types of things did you have to filter out of the water?
Well, we haven't quite tested that one out yet. Yeah, we kind of have, but it's mostly for like if there's like bits inside of it, so the water would filter out there, and it can work. Didn't say anything. It's like just like for all those like bigger clumps, and then like the little like smaller ones will try to like trap it as much as it could.
So Adelina, I have this problem with my desk at home has all of these pencils all over the place and pens and everything. I can never organize them very well. And I have the same problem, like they always tip over and they get lost in the bottom of the container I have them in all the time. So give me some advice. What would you do?
I think we should definitely get a holder or like get something around it. Like if something can't fit in there, like a big roll of tape, just put it against where it's normally
Oh,
flowing.
okay.
So
Stick them against the
like,
sides.
if it was going over here, you would want to put it on that side.
Oh, okay,
so it wouldn't
okay.
go.
Any other advice?
I think you should just, yeah, put the thing there.
Good. Understood. Thank you. Cool projects.
Are you excited to come to the symposium?
Yes.
Very
Pretty big
We're
deal.
all really excited.
There'll be a lot of people here. Exciting.
And pizza lunch?
Can't go wrong with that.
Our favorite, that could be our favorite part of this. You know what, Winston.
Yeah, I will just say it's been exciting to watch, you know, when we got invited to be able to come, you know, thanks to, this is Jim Gorman and his grant that he got. So to be able to have elementary school students come and be part of something at the high school, like, you know, this year, we're doing it with just one class, and we hope that like this continues and that then we could actually even bring the entire fourth grade next year. But I know that well, you won't be here, yeah, you're right, but but there might be some, I think the fifth graders might have been invited, so they might be coming too, so you never know, but it's been really exciting to see the teams work together, and especially with, you know, they talked a lot about earlier today, we were talking about upcycling and recycling and the differences there and problem solving. So I'm excited for them to have this experience. And we'll see how it goes because it's next week. So.
Awesome. Can I ask you guys one favor? Can you say hi to Miss Linsky for me, please? All right.
We have to be coordinated with this.
Just remember the color brown.
There, oh yes, his last name is Brown, so you can say that Mr. Brown said to be sure and say hi to Mrs. Linsky. I bet you can remember that. Oh, awesome. Well, great job, my friends and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, Don, you want to give us an update from the student side?
Yeah, of course. So I have three main things to bring up. I'll start with the science symposium. So next day, starting at 9 p.m., we're all gonna be presenting a research project to the visitors in the Mendon-Upton Gymnasium. So my partner and I, we focused on a BRP peptide that acts as an alternative to the weight loss drug Ozempic. It basically has a lot of benefits to it because it doesn't cause any side effects or a lot of the harms that does, and also benefits the environment by reducing pharmaceutical waste. So that's what I'll be presenting. And then next is DECA State. So from February 28th to March 1st, we had about 70 Mendon students compete the business-centric competition at the Massachusetts DECA State Career Development Conference. We had 30 students make the finals round and 15 students qualified for the International Career Development Conference in Orlando, Florida. So that's going to be from April 26th to 29th. And then I also got reelected to serve on the Massachusetts DECA State Action Team 67, along with 7 other individuals. And we're going to be serving over 12,000 members in Massachusetts DECA. And then finally, at the junior internship, I've secured a placement at the Mendon Town Hall to help out on various projects to get a better insight in government at the local level. And I'm just one of 40 juniors taking part in this program. It's ranging from a variety of occupations, from dermatologists to teachers to judges. So it's definitely going to be a great experience. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. I can move on to new business. If we still have Gardner here. If not, we can come back.
I can jump into the baseball scrimmage one.
Let's do it.
Those two, and we'll see if Liz comes back. We have a couple scrimmages coming up. Baseball scrimmage at Mount St. Charles, which is in Rhode Island, and a lacrosse scrimmage in Enfield, Connecticut, and that's coming up within the next week. So they were asking for permission for out of state. And just to note, the advantage of the places that they're going to have turf fields. They're going to scrimmage because in the early season, it's difficult to use some of the fields right now, especially if it's been raining. So on that out there too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need a motion to approve the trips and or we can, we got Liz back. We can get a quick update.
I know.
No?
I just did the sports one and then you can
Oh,
do the
okay.
next one. So
Okay.
you can have a seat. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so I am coming back in here to ask, permission to take our second grade students, the whole grade. We would like to take them on a field trip. It happens to be in Rhode Island, not too far away, but across the state line, the United States of America. And, it seems like we tried to actually go to this facility last year, but we couldn't kind of coordinate it. They have all these wonderful STEM programs that the kids do. And so what we want to do with our second graders, it's a whole lesson on just kind of like the science of roller skates. And the kids are going to get a chance to be some inspired innovators and actually design a feature that they would add to the skates. And they'll work together in teams to do that. And then after the STEM lesson, they get to roller skate. And then they'd be coming back from the field trip. But so I'm just here, and I think May 30th, I feel like, is the date that we were hoping to go. So I'm here to ask if we can take them out of the state.
Good. Motion for all three, or any more questions for Liz or Maureen?
Yeah, so moved.
Okay. All right, all in favor of approving the 3 out-of-state field trips?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing the kids in tonight.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Cohen, over to you for superintendent administrator updates.
All right, we've had a really busy few weeks in the district, and I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to thank people for all the events they're hosting, but also to give some highlights if people have missed it. I'll also have the district newsletter coming out tomorrow, and we'll have not all of these, but a fair amount of them will be listed in there as well and highlighted. We have a number of examples related to service. For example, we had some fundraisers on the 14th. Nipmuc hosted a 3-on-3 tournament, raise funds to fight childhood cancer. We had a number of 3-on-3 teams. We even had a faculty team for the first time this year. They won the adult division. They were, I think, the only adult team or faculty team, but they did great. Later that evening, we held the Rockin' for a Reason Battle of the Bands, also to raise funds. And the Battle of the Bands and the Rockin' for a Reason's been around for 12 years. And I was at that event, and what I really liked about it this year was the high quality of the bands that were there. They were really talented. It was hard to pick, and it felt almost like a concert. Like you would go to a concert, people were up front and cheering and all that. So I really want to thank Jen DeRozier and Whitney Simmons was there and others that helped out. Nipmuc National Honor Society was also that week as well, and they inducted a number of new members on Thursday. And as you know, service is a big part of that, so I want to highlight some of the service we've been doing. We have many exhibitions of learning. We had the spring concerts for MISCO for band and chorus on, losing track of which day was which, Tuesday, that was on the Wednesday. And then last Tuesday was Nipmuc
Right.
Band and Chorus, and was able to check those out. And of course, they were amazing. So thank you to all of our teachers and our performers that did a great job. You're going to continue to hear a lot about the MURSD Science Symposium that Jim Foreman and his team are helping to organize. And what's been really nice, as you can see, that Liz just talked about with her students, is the fact that we've been able to include others. And we're also we need more community members to come in and be judges, and that ask just went out through the Nipmuc newsletter, but will go out through the district newsletter as well for requests, and that's coming up pretty quickly. I had late breaking news today that the jazz ensemble performs at the MAJE state finals this week and received a gold medal.
Very nice.
So that's incredible.
So is there an implication for that? Do they go play somewhere now?
I don't.
They're going to the hat shop.
Yeah, okay.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
it was in an email, and that's all the info that I got from
Yeah.
Simon, and I didn't talk to him today, but that's pretty, they always do suck. I mean, I'm not surprised, they're amazing, but to get gold, that's great.
Is that the first time we've gotten that? It's
I
like,
don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're like short of it.
Yeah,
They've gone to the state finals and played at the head show 2 or 3 times.
okay.
How about that? It's really awesome.
Looking ahead, we have the 1-8 Showcase of Learning on May 9th, and I know that's a little ways away, but we're doing a lot of preparation for that, in which the district will send a team of staff and students exhibiting their learning through Project Lead the Way, which we try to highlight here for all of you. For community building engagement, which is some of the work we've been trying to increase this year, ever since COVID, post-COVID, we've been trying to bring back a lot of these community engagement activities where we're bringing people in, but also trying to have more of the field trips and having our students go out. We just had an awesome literacy and STEM night at Clef, and there were a lot of families, and I was able to check that out. I think the biggest hit were the drones, that our drone team at the Nipmuc were in the gym for that. And also there were, what?
We have a drone team?
We do, we
Yes.
do.
First time hearing of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and they were sponsored, that's one of the youth grants that,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that paid for it a number of years ago, yep. And so they were there and showing all the kids and the families, and then in one of the other rooms, it was like the snap circuit kits, and that was a big hit. If you don't know what it is, but you're nodding, I know my sons used to always play with it, but all the kids love that. Book fair, but a lot of, volunteers, and just want to thank Liz and her team for putting on a good night. That same night.
Drone racing or the drone, that's what they call it. There's like challenges, they do drone challenges, drone racing, and then they have.
artistic performances where they
Whatever.
dance or whatever.
Do you know what competition that was? It's racing, right?
Well, they were just showing,
Oh, they're
like
just
letting
showing-
people try,
Oh, I see.
the elementary students try it out.
Alright, alright.
It was early recruitment
Right.
for the drones.
I-
You also talk
Yeah.
to them about like what careers would involve drones, like,
Right.
if potential future careers that would involve drone technology, and there's a lot of them, so.
Construction.
Cool.
That same night was Nisco Hill Middle School talent show. Had to split my time between the two, but the student council hosted that. It went on a number of hours, and there's apparently a lot of talent. I got to see some nice magic tricks, and saw some of the performances after that were shared. For leadership opportunities and events that have been going on, as you know, we've mentioned we're part of the Applied Learning Leadership Institute, or ALLIED for short, sponsored by the 1-8 Foundation. And we've had teams in both Nipmuc and Misco participate in it, and participate in visits over the last couple of weeks. The Nipmuc Authenticity Protocol was showcased and shared with other districts. And 1-8 will have a videographer visiting on April 7th to film educators using the protocol. We're part of a process that they have now of like codification of the protocols that we're creating, and then they're kind of going to ship it out in the sense that other schools will hopefully be able to use it in the future. So it's part of that process. Misco Hill is in the first year of the Institute, and Nipmuc's in their second year right now, and is developing and piloting a collection of tools around collaborative discourse. I've mentioned that in previous district updates. And we have the mentor program that Cheryl runs. The final mentor-mentee workshop of the year will be tomorrow. And this highlights and continues the leadership of our educators who meet regularly to support their newest colleagues. This is something that's supported partly in our budget, operational budget, and partly through federal funds through Title II-A for our mentors. And we have gone above and beyond of 1 year of mentorships. It's a 3-year mentorship program that we have. I want to thank the leadership of Andrea Rakowski, who facilitates meetings and serves as a lead mentor for the district for that. And then finally, you will continue to hear from Cheryl on this, but the ELA Curriculum Council, just a shout out, we have a group of 24 educator volunteers representing all grade levels. It includes special education teachers, reading specialists, and one of our EL teachers. And they're working on the vision for ELA instruction that helps in guiding the selection of resources in PD in the future. And they are, currently working on reviewing a lot of resources and going through a pretty strict process for that. But that's but it's happening a lot behind the scenes, but it's been going on all year, and they'll have representatives coming to present in the future. We had our Inspired Learning Day on March 6th. I had linked in there just elementary students, some of the reflections of their day and lots of artifacts that they had. What we loved about these reflections is their ability, and you could even see it in the presentations that they just gave here, their ability to now connect to our portrait of the learner competencies and reflect on their specific competencies and their skills. One highlight was authenticity and community partnerships that we've been emphasizing and making authentic real world connections. So some of the examples that we've had were Nipmuc offered a working with canines, where Mary Ellis and Rob Rodkey brought in 3 local professionals who work with dogs in the professions in different ways. A session called Let's Get Real, where we had 3 teachers mentioned there, brought in real estate professionals to help students learn more about the housing market, what it takes to be a successful real estate professional. Chris Evans organized a session focused on science and service and connecting with Southwick Zoo. At Memorial, Brittany and Molly organized a visit to the fire and police stations. I happened upon the school right after they returned, and all the kids were like, "Oh, I'm drawing my pictures of what I got to see with the police and fire," and they had a great time with that. We had a session organized by Carolyn Gale, who invited 3 local businesses to help kids make business plans at Clough. Brianna and Maria organized a session where students wrote PR pieces to raise awareness and collect items for local pet adoption organizations. Missile Hill, Lauren LaJoy offered a fish on to help students understand aquatic biology, invited a guest from Mass Wildlife to speak with students. They also offered digital marketing, which was hosted by reps from the Nipmuc DECA Club. And across the district, we brought a lot of high school students and teachers helping to lead sessions across. I couldn't possibly tell you about all the sessions, but hopefully those are a few highlights just to give you a sense of, some of the work we're trying to do to make it really meaningful for our students. And then those are the highlights. I'll pause there before I move on. A couple other updates. Any questions on those? No. All right.
Good.
Grant updates. We just received 2 1-8 Foundation grants on Project Lead the Way expansion for a total of $13,000. We've communicated out to all of our schools that the MUF grants, the Mendon-Upton Education Foundation grants, are open and available for educators to apply. And I just gave the example that the drones were one. We have the rock band instruments that were received last year. We also had support of teaching with trout at the middle school. Those are all as a result of some support from MUF. And I wasn't sure if I had mentioned this, but we're in the midst of planning for our multicultural night. So I want to make sure I mentioned that we did receive a Mass Cultural Council grant. It's possible I did it in the budget presentation, but that's going to support. We wanted to be able to have some additional funding in order to bring in some outside performers to the multicultural night, which will take place in May. And then the next, I just wanted to give a reminder about the Golden Apple Subcommittee beginning in April 1st is about when we start to reach out to get nominations and then come together in May in order to decide on that. I just wanted to kind of put that on your radar as well.
That came fast.
Any questions? It does. Yeah. Any questions on any of that? Comments? Move on.
We were good.
No.
Yeah, let's move on to the MURSD capital project presentations.
Let's do it. We will pull that up. Thank you. Yes, please. Well, Sam's pulling up the presentation that we'll go through. I just wanted to give you an update on what kind of communications and resources in addition to the presentation. We have a capital project flyer, which I linked in there, which has been finalized, and you'll see it. It's also located on our website. But that's something that if anyone was asking, you can print it up or you could share it out, and it has just the overview of all the projects. I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. We have the capital project website. I completed the kind of the basic organization of it, where when you go to the main webpage, it gives just a brief overview, has the flyer. Then on the left-hand side, and I'll show it after just so people can see, that you have drop downs to each of the projects. We wanted to organize it along with the way the warrant articles are going to be. And then you can kind of click into drop downs for some info. We're still finding some additional pictures to add in. We're still going to be updating costs and adding more info, but if someone goes there, they'll get at least the basic information. I think I shared with you just our working content resource. That's more internal document, but if you were ever giving a presentation or looking for additional information that's not most of it is on the website, but you'll be able to go, or you could do a search in that document. And we also shared just some meeting scheduling, and Eric talked about that in order to plan out upcoming meetings, in order to share these presentations and these resources. And MUCP has created an FAQ document, which we shared. I have not put any of the FAQs yet into the website. They're going to be kind of putting FAQs out, but I'll be able to add that into the website. And we have a draft press release, but it's not done yet, but that will be going out soon. So that's a little background on some of the communications, but we wanted to walk through some of the updates so far in this presentation, which we continue to refine. And this is still the larger presentation that has all the information in it. But what our plan is to create a more condensed version that would be presented at town meeting. Obviously, we're not going to go through all of this, but I think this is helpful. So when anyone's presenting or answering questions, you have this as an additional resource, and you're able to answer questions. And at the end, if you have questions or comments or looking for additional information in the presentation, then it would be great to let us know and we can continue to refine it. All right. So as you know, we just had a building committee meeting last week and did a brief overview of some of this, and we've had a few updates from feedback from that. But we are going to be going forward to the town meetings and for ballot vote for 3 capital projects. We have one project, which is the roof project at Nipmuc. The second is our facilities project, and we've organized it around all 4 schools and then by school, and we'll walk you through that. And then we have the fields and grounds project and that it impacts MISCO and Nipmuc. On the next slide, I'm going to try to go as fast as we can. Can you click through, Sam? Can you click to the next one? Okay, yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
Can you go back?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Was up here.
Not going. Back. Okay, there we go. One. All right. What we have is 2 pages of regarding our timeline. This is the recent timeline when we launched our capital planning subcommittee. We performed the facility assessment by Habib and Associates to give us background on all of our school needs. And then we have our submission and acceptance into the accelerated repair program. And then in 2023, all of our capital planning subcommittee meetings, which then led into 2024-2025 year. As part of the capital planning subcommittee, we reduced from that original assessment a list that was approximately 90 million of needs, and we prioritized it to a little under 30 million right now, split up not exactly evenly, but pretty close evenly across those projects. We launched and you voted to form the building committee, which we just launched, and we were able to, we wanted to make sure that we had on that committee building industry and construction experience, and we had some great representatives that were on the committee and gave a lot of great feedback last week. We also have to continue to submit additional info to MSBA, work with Habib and Associates right now for developing schematic designs and cost estimates, which Jay will speak to kind of where we're at on that right now. And then we'll be moving forward in very short time in May with our warrants for capital improvements. One question that came up, if you go to the next slide, that came up at a previous meeting was, I think the question was, it seems like this is moving quickly, but for us, and maybe if you're just hearing about it, for us, it's not moving quickly because we've actually been talking and doing a lot of this work for over a decade. We had an initial list of facility needs that were starting to be created in 2013. And then we had a lot of exploratory committees and research studies related to our field needs, which we know we started to talk about leading into 2014 and 15. And then some recent updates kind of triggered some additional work with our fields being part of our project in conjunction with our facility needs and roof needs. So I just wanted to make sure that I was sharing this timeline as well. If anyone asked that, we've even though we have our first kind of capital plan laid out, we've actually been doing a lot of research in the background. Something else that has come up for questions is just about maintenance in our buildings. I know all of you are able to see all of the highlights that we do and the great work that Jay does and Ken does and the team. But what this indicates is school facilities maintenance planning, the best practices. And as part of best practices, we are always looking at occupant health and safety. We had a security assessment. We have annual preventative maintenance that we're focused on. In part of our implementation evaluation phase, we have the facility assessments. We have daily and weekly evaluation of our needs. Ken meets with Jay every single day, and then we compile the list of our needs of planning forward. For capital planning, now we were able to add that in with the planning subcommittee that's been meeting, stakeholder input in many different ways. We've done it through our strategic planning that went back a couple of years ago. We also had a community survey that was specific to facility needs, and I have that data, which has driven some of our work. And we also had to do one like a grant community survey as well a number of years back. So we have a lot of feedback. And then in regard to the learning environment, which connects to all of this impact, we have the district strategic plan that's guiding our work that we talk about. So hopefully that gives a sense of how it's all coming together. And then it leads into the next two slides, and we're not going to go through the whole list. And we're going to update this list because this is, we've had things that have happened beyond this, but questions have come up with, I know you may think because we have these great needs that perhaps someone may say, oh, well, maybe you're not maintaining your buildings. This is an example of operational funds, sometimes grant funds, of work that we've done over the last number of years in many areas and completed projects. And this isn't even everything. This is just some of the highlights. If you go to the next page with Clough and Memorial, you can see what we've been working on in small and large and some projects. And just, we are going to update that. That way, if anyone asks a question, you'll be able to say. And then I think we're also going to add in a couple pictures, just background, just to give some really big highlights, because we've done some great things with as an example, like a couple of years ago when we started the assessment review, we really needed to fix the stage floor at MISCO. We fixed the stage floor at MISCO. You know, there's some big things that we focused on, the gym floor at MISCO, and that was redone, the high school, and everyone might not know what we've been working on in the meantime, but that we still need the capital support for the other items. So we've organized the presentation again into the three projects. We're going to start with the roof project and just give you a quick outline of how it's addressing some of our needs. Go to the next slide. Yep. You want to speak to this one quick?
Sure. Previously, so there's three parts to the roof. Obviously, there's the flat section that has what's called an EPDM roof. It's a rubber surface. There's the asphalt shingles. On another section, there's some copper lining on the water tower. These are all the various components underneath it. You know, one of the things we've talked about is when you place asphalt shingles, you're liable to find that the decking underneath needs to be replaced as well, or at least some of it. So all that, these are all the various components that go into replacing the roof.
And just to go back to the picture, we haven't shown this picture before, but this is an example of one of our rooms that's impacted by the leaks and how we try to avoid the water going all over the floor. But outside the hallway, I have another image of, you know, it's leaks. Every time I walk in, it's leaking in that hallway. And then I walk into the main office and there are barrels there in the main office when we have rainy days.
What am I seeing in the pictures on the left? Is there something specific you want to point out with those?
It's just the shingles curling up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
growing up, yeah. Thank you.
All right, so I talked about the various components. Typically, these roofs last 20 to 30 years. We're at 28, pushing on 29 at this point. It is time to replace them. I think that's pretty common sense that roofs need to be replaced on a regular basis. The other piece to this is the rooftop HVAC units. There are approximately 8 HVAC units and another 4 different vent type things that go through the rubber surface that vent out. All that stuff has to be removed in order to replace the roof. It's old, it runs on old refrigerants, so all those components will also need to be replaced as well. That particular section of it will not be reimbursable from MSBA. As far as the cost estimates, we took cost estimates off of the assessment on this that was done, but we built in escalators based on the fact that that was about 1.5 2 years ago, and we're probably still a year away from actually getting bids on it and going out to work on it. So we've built in those, anticipated cost increases into these cost estimates here. The total for all of it is around 7 million. We've got designer costs and OPM costs that add on to it. So you actually get to almost 8.3 million, but about 4.3 million will be reimbursable from MSBA. And these are estimates. I mean, they could reimburse something else. We're not really sure. It happens as you go. They'll say, no, that doesn't count, that does. But right now we're estimating the net cost for the roof should be just under $4 million based on the cost estimates that we have. On the HVAC side, all those units, same thing. These are the pricings that came out of our assessment done about 1.5 years ago. We built in escalators based on cost increases. We're expecting some other costs potentially hit depending on, what happens at the federal level. So all in all, we're looking at about 2.4 million for the HVAC units. And that's basically just a list of all of them. I know it's pretty small, but I couldn't get them on one page. Total cost that we're estimating for the roof after the reimbursement is about $6.3 million, slightly over that. So that's what we're looking at for the roof piece. And that's the numbers we'll be. Now, when we go to town meeting, we have to vote to approve the entire 10,657,000. That's the requirement there, even though it'll be offset and the tax impact will be less. But the project has to be approved. We have to be authorized to borrow that amount. On the facility, want me to keep going?
Sure, I'll jump in.
All right, on the facility side, we've got things going on in all 4 buildings. Building management systems is the biggest of all, and the paging and time clock systems. Those are two big things. Key card access from exterior doors, data cabling, carpets, auditorium carpets and seats, curbs, sidewalks, a generator. We now are looking at replacing the electrical system as well, because we're not sure a generator can actually connect to a 1958 oil-filled system. We'll show you a picture of that in a second. So there's a variety of things there at all 4 schools. We'll start with the building management systems. These are the computer controls that basically regulate air exchange, heat, cooling, everything. The systems that we currently have are pretty much obsolete and no longer are functioning the way they're supposed to. So we're looking to replace all of those. The pricing we have for this, and we'll get to that in a second, but we've used some of the pricing we got from the company that's giving us quotes, and then we've escalated those a little bit as well based on what the design team is telling us, just so that we make sure that we're covered. The card access system, that's basically going to be a card access for probably 4 or 5 doors at each school. It'll allow us to have individual controls where, like, for example, your youth basketball and you're using Clough from 6 to 8 on Tuesdays. That's when your card works. It's from 6 to 8 on Tuesdays, and then it gets shut off again. It'll give us a lot more control on security of the buildings, and it's something that we need to move forward on.
And that also was a recommendation when we had the security assessment. It's one of the top steps that we can do to make the building more secure, period. So it's been at the top of our list. And just to mention, we did send in requests to our state legislators, and it has been the last couple of years, but it's the top of our list for requests for them. We're still putting into the capital, but we're always looking for other ways to defray that cost if possible.
The paging and time clock systems, again, most of them are original to the buildings. They have lots of components don't work. We're looking at wireless systems pretty much guaranteed at MISCO. The other buildings, we think the wiring's probably okay, so it's just a component swap. But the systems are old and they don't work as well as they're supposed to. They really do need paging systems for security if emergencies happen at the schools. At NIPMUC, one of the big things we need to do here is data cabling. That's the internet. Excuse me. That's the internet wires that run through the building. It's original to the school. It needs to be upgraded to more modern technology. We've got a lot of devices on the systems here. Sure.
So auditorium seats and carpeting. Some people when people come in, it's often dark, you know, when you come into the auditorium, when we have the events, sometimes you don't see it, but even it just happened the other night, you know, there was a parent who I said, that's the broken chair, because I know I avoided it, and they weren't able to sit in that chair because that was broken. Approximately, we think about 50 chairs are broken, and they're too old to be fixed. And also, when you walk right in, you can see in the carpet right there is a large rip in the main carpet. The building is 27 years old?
28.
20
Pushing
years.
29.
All right, pushing 29 right now. And hopefully a lot of us don't have 29-year-old, you know, carpets at our homes, but imagine the uses that we have. But it's, you know, taking a beating. We take really good care of it, but it is starting to fray and be a trip hazard in the auditorium. Flooring, carpets, and tiles, same thing. You can see example here in the classrooms. The classrooms have a mixture of tiles and carpeting, and here, you know, it's original to the building as well, but it's starting to become a safety issue across the board. So do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think we're all set with that. I'll go on with MISCO.
Yep.
You'll see there, that is called an oil-filled transformer. We have 3 of those, and that's what distributes the electricity throughout the building. They were installed in 1958, and the door is locked to the building. We don't have keys to where they're located, only National Grid does. They are problematic mostly just because of their age, and they're also kind of hazardous materials inside. They're not leaking or anything like that, but it's time to replace those. More important is what's called the switch gear, which is the main lever switch that turns off the power to the whole building. Again, original to the building in 1958. We're kind of afraid to shut that off because we're afraid if it goes off, it may never go back on again. I initiated conversations with National Grid last week about the transformers, and I think we might be able to get them to replace the transformers. It would have to go outside the building because that's where they're supposed to be, but the switch gear would still be part of our responsibility. They're still working on doing some of that. I called out a couple of other things, but that was one that we talked about. A generator, it's, I think, more than obvious, especially nowadays, power goes out a lot more. We need to have some kind of backup power, especially at a middle school, because you don't have water when you run on a well. So that's a priority as well. The bathrooms.
I'm gonna just jump in just to add what I usually talk about with the generators, that also, you know, it can't be used as an emergency, you know, shelter for the town, but if we had a generator and we're able to, that would be something that would help the town out as well. So obviously it has an immediate impact when power goes out. We have battery backup lights in the building, but they're kind of weak as battery ones, and it's pretty much pitch black in the schools, and we can keep our students in there in the middle school for a little bit, but not quite as long as we need in order to get the buses to pick them up if the power went out when the students were actually in the buildings. One thing of not having them come in, but if something happens, so just
But this proposal is for one generator at MISCO.
correct. Yep.
Yeah, just MISCO. The other 3 schools have them. They
Yeah,
work
it's
fine.
the only building that doesn't have one.
And we did explore the option of potentially solar battery as a backup type generator, and we're still looking into that as other options.
Is Mendon-Upton an emergency shelter for Upton?
Probably, but I don't know.
Probably,
Sure they've got
but I
that.
mean, it
They've
could
got
be, it
PVC.
has,
I just wanted to see if that's an example of it.
yeah.
Otherwise, it's cloth, but
Yeah.
MISCO is very big real estate,
Yeah.
so.
What's a bigger school, more space?
For the bathrooms at MISCO classroom sinks are not ADA compliant. The fixtures, the toilets and sinks were designed for elementary students and need to be replaced for an age appropriate level for middle school. And I always give the examples that we have our students who do civic action projects at the high school and also at the middle school. The #1 civic action project of change that they would like from our students are to do something about our bathrooms. We've been working collaboratively with We Care MISCO to do some upgrades and to try to beautify it a little bit and deep cleaning and, you know, all these elements. But the fact that the fixtures are not for the size of our students is definitely an issue we need to address.
And it is one of those things. We did one bathroom with in cooperation with BBT, but it's not just like replacing a fixture. You have to actually break into the concrete wall, move the piping, relocate it all, fix the concrete wall. It's a fairly elaborate process. The one that we did, we gutted it right down to the studs again and then redid it all. So it's a fairly substantial project. It's not just, put a new toilet in.
For our lockers in that back wing it's mostly our art rooms are back there now, are original to the building. So about 67 years old. They're rusted and they're for all you have stickers in there, missing hooks. And this is feedback from our students. Lockers don't open and close to the rust and age. It's too small to fit their backpacks and their winter jackets. They just don't serve the purpose and they're not safe. And this replacement with all the other lockers are fine in the rest of the building. This is just this one portion that needs to be replaced. Similarly, with the flooring and carpets and for the carpets and tiles, because of the age of some of them, we have the trip hazards. That's one example that we have here. We did use some of our federal funding, grant funding, in order to do a number of rooms. Do you remember how many rooms we did?
We've done probably about 15 or so at Misco in the last 2 years.
Yeah, and what we've found, we did a mixture of carpet and tiles, and we focused on some of the science rooms to make sure they were all tiles. Beautiful white tiles, and I think we'd probably go mostly with the tiles. It almost feels like a brand new space in there. We realized once we replaced all of them, which was great. Okay.
So caulking on the windows. This is at Clough. We've had an issue with the caulking at both Clough and Memorial where it's just dried out. Things have expanded, moisture's getting in, and it's actually, destroying the windowsills at this point. It is something that we need to address. Not super expensive, but something that we need to address. Same thing with the curbs and the sidewalks. Over the years, concrete just crumbles apart, and we've tried to fix them over and over. We pour form, we try to put new concrete in, but it just doesn't hold up for a long period of time. So this is to replace some of those at both schools that have just deteriorated beyond repair, and they become a safety hazard, especially at the main entrances. As far as cost estimates for all of these various things, again, these were revised by Habib and Associates from their initial assessment, and they built some escalators in as well to make sure that we are covered appropriately. So the total at Nipmuc is about 2.6 million for the various things that need to be done there. At Misco Hill, it's about 3.5 million to do the stuff that needs to be done there. We can go through them quickly. At Clough, it's about 1.7 million. And at Memorial, it's just under 2 million. For these various things. The biggest expenses obviously are the building management systems, the time clocks, the sidewalks. We're hoping are not going to come in quite as high as what's quoted there. These are quotes to fix everything. We may not have to do all that, but that's what we're looking at right now. If you put all these facilities together, it's about $11.6 million when you add in the designer and OPM costs, which are important. So that's the total for the facility piece.
And one thing, a question sometimes we get is, what about Misco? Why aren't we just going to build a new Misco? Like it's an old building. That's a question that we get. And you can see that there's more funding to some of the systems that, in that building, the larger building as well. It would cost us $150 million as a guess for a brand new building at Misco. And the capital committee, after looking at the facilities assessment, we realized that it's a really secure, strong building. There's lots of elements where we keep updating and trying to update, but which can take us a number of years. Doesn't mean we won't ever need to come forward someday and relook at that because of the age of the building, but there was no major safety issues that popped up in the facility.
Didn't we discuss
assessment.
that? Didn't Habib come back with a number of years that it could last?
Yeah. No, it structurally is incredibly sound.
Yeah.
It's really well
Wasn't it another
built,
20 years? I thought it was
probably at least.
Yeah.
It's very well built. It's just that it looks older. It doesn't look as nice as the newer buildings. And when you think about it, this building is almost 30 years old now as well. So it doesn't look anything like what a brand new school would look like. But structurally, Misco is a solid building. It's just that it's old and it needs some, some upgrading.
Just wanted to bring that up because that is a common question that I've received almost every time I've shared information with new people on that.
One quick question, the
Yeah.
design or OPM costs for these projects. Would you feel we need that, or this isn't?
You're required to if you spend more than $1.5 million. It's a state law. I don't necessarily disagree with what you're thinking, but that you do have to do that. So we'll have to work that out at some point. Now, there's different ways to do it. I know that when we built Clufton Memorial, we actually worked with the architect and they provided somebody on site every day and it worked fairly well, but I'm not sure we'll be allowed to do it that way again. Same thing with the MSBA project. You have to have an OPM.
What type of design work is going on? What is
They have to write out construction documents because it has to get put out to bid and it needs to be very specific. It can't just be, hey, we need a new roof, come over and give me a
Well,
quote.
that's not roof, that's facilities.
Well, same type of thing. You want to have caulking, you can write out bid specs. What kind of caulking you're going to use? How thick is it going to be? It's the way you have to do public construction. Concrete and curbings, and sidewalks. Do you want 3,000 pound concrete? Do you want 4,000 pound concrete? You have to specify all that stuff out. Otherwise, the way the bid process works is contractors bid and they try to lowball as best they can, and then they look for change orders in your construction documents to get you with change orders and make money. So you want to get that done up front. So there is some cost. Now, typically what we were told is that you should figure 10% for design and 8% for OPM. I don't know that necessarily is going to be that high on either of these projects, especially the building stuff. But you still have to have somebody that has professional qualities that can write those bid documents out, and that's not going to be Ken or I.
For the Fields and Grounds project, it's broken up into Misco and also Nipmuc, and just to make it easy for people to understand and visualize, we broke it up into back fields versus front fields. For Misco, I'll just go over this one slide and then we can quickly look at the others. Yeah, thank you. You can keep it here for now. At Misco, we need to renovate, regrade, work on irrigation for our field, particularly our baseball, softball field, hockey, soccer field in the back area. And that's all about the same field and overlap there. And we have very compacted grass fields and it will all need to be redone. Some stories that we hear are other teams not willing to come and play with us. We have safety concerns. I've heard a lot from field hockey families talking about the safety concerns because of the divots in the grass. And even though we have put in and upped some of our maintenance and seeding and et cetera, like in the fields, it's at a point where we actually need to redo them in order for them to be okay. And also some of the grading you can see is really off when you're in those fields as well. The Nipmuc backfields, I'll show you in a minute, but accessible, we're looking to have an accessible walking path that would go all the way around the exterior for the community and also for vehicles. We would look to upgrade our baseball, softball practice field hockey fields to some degree and put in irrigation systems. The Nipmuc front fields, we would install a track, which we don't have. We would work on ADA compliant entrance, permanent lighting, so we'd be able to play at night, which we don't have any night lighting anywhere. It'll be an artificial turf playing field, which means it's easier for maintenance, and also you're able to play really year round. You've heard some of the stories in the past when MUCP came to present the fact that we often have to play elsewhere because we do not have turf like everyone else has around us, and people won't play here. And so we've had a number of games that we've had to just move elsewhere. And then it would add in features that we do not have. That, just to know that front field, we didn't have at the time a football team. And so we didn't have any of the structures that you might have in a stadium. And so it's kind of been makeshift once we added the football team and other needs for other sports, but there's no press box. There's limited seating, there's no concessions. There are a lot of features that we just don't have. So let's take a look at some of the pictures. The next slide, you can see some of the fields and grounds at Misco, and you're looking at a couple different angles from that left field there, but you can see the grass and the needs there. let's go to the next one. Okay, fields and grounds at Nipmuc. You can see what in particular, if you look at that upper right picture where you have the flooding, that leads all the way back to our back fields. And we can't get emergency vehicles easily back there, which is a problem. And also imagine having to walk back there, especially if you know, have any special needs for mobility. And that part right there would be paved, would be part of the project. In the, let's see, is that the softball field or baseball field? I can't see. Is that softball?
It's the baseball.
That's a baseball field? Okay.
Basically,
Is it? All right.
the bottom is.
The bottom right?
Softball.
Softball, I'll put a little heading on it, but the softball field, a couple, and there, is that where we had the drop off that they were describing, Sean? Was the
Yes,
baseball-
Yes.
This
If you
giant
look to the
drop
left
off,
of that
yeah,
First base.
there, That's also that's the highest point in the field, but the drop off is, and I
Yeah.
checked it just yesterday, I was
Yeah.
out there, Saturday I was out there. And there's a couple of gophers that have set up shop in there and they're all put. There's also like, the drop down into the woods, which is where the softballs go, so you're
Yeah.
looking up to catch the softball, you
Right,
gotta go
you're-
down 5 feet.
right,
And you will be in the woods hitting a tree with your head.
yeah,
And it varies, there's a 3-foot drop closer to the dugout there, so 5 foot is out toward right field, so it's dangerous.
yeah. So you have that, and then the way it's oriented, the sun is directly in the batter's eyes, from what I understand. And,
Yeah.
and what they want to do is be able to turn it, and also the fence is so short that it's just really easy to hit it over the fence. from what-
It's not the fence being short, it's,
The
so the
distance.
regulation fields are 200 feet.
Yeah.
To the fences for the outfield, that's about 190, and we just don't tell anybody that.
Okay, all right, we won't tell anybody, but we are, because
Because
we're
it's
gonna
a
fix.
short porch because we've got no room,
Right.
essentially the way it's oriented, got no room to set up the field.
And I don't have a picture, but we are working on some drone footage that will be able to provide us hopefully some updated footage of the fields. But if you go to the baseball field, I remember the first time I walked out on the baseball field and saw how far back the backstop is. I've never seen a backstop, and I go to a lot of baseball fields all over the world, right? Not the world, but all over the US. We're not doing that, but with my son, and I've never ever seen one so far back. So what they would do is move the field in order to make it and
That also, by the way,
Yeah.
helps the softball field because they're
Yeah.
both overlapping each other, right?
Yeah.
And I have to tell you as well, there's a soccer field that's back there,
Mhm.
it overlaps.
Yeah.
The softball outfield, which means you get
Correct.
the trampling and the gradation problems all become issues.
So I think we gave a couple good examples of what's going on there as well. And then the front field would be, you can go to the next slide just to show. I thought these were helpful because it shows our lack of, podiums and announcers and where they're standing for our games.
That's a press box that's required by some of the coverage.
Yes,
And then the other side is the street
yeah, that's the
where
street.
people are observing the games, but,
Yeah.
whatever.
If you go to the next slide, it gives an overview, which I know we've all seen in here, but in case people are watching at home or watching this later, it shows the overview of the plans, and you can see that the front field is kind of at an angle. They would move some of the land around in order to put the track in there. Currently, our members of our track, where do they run?
It's the street.
I know, I was looking at you guys, I'm like, where do they run? Yeah, so they're running through the streets, right? And I mean, they do a great job, but not necessarily the safest. And we have an amazing track team, and they deserve to have a track for what they do. And what's awesome in a community too about having a nice track, and it's a community track as well, and you have the ability to use that, and you would have that in addition to the walking path that we'd be putting all around, and having increased accessibility to all of our fields that we have here. So next slide.
All right, so cost estimates on this, the Nipmuc fields that we looked at, we used MUCP's cost estimates. They were refined by Habib and Associates and actually brought it down a little bit, but it was brought to our attention that those cost estimates did not include a retaining wall that we need to basically keep Pleasant Street up on Pleasant Street and kind of around the back there. So we added those back in. We've added the MISCO field work in, the designer and OPM costs. You're looking at just around $12 million. We do believe that both towns will commit some of their CPC funding to reduce the cost on an annual basis to cover some of the debt, which would reduce the tax impact on the taxpayers. But again, this is the amount we would have to approve at town meeting in order for this project to go forward. Now, if we put all three together, you know, you've seen the three different things. It totals up to about $34 million, but we expect about $4.3 million in MSB reimbursement. So the net cost is just under 30 million that we'd have to look at potentially funding. But again, the number that has to be approved is going to be the 34,219. They'll be done in 3 separate votes though. As far as the tax impact, what I've done is we've separated these by each project in and of itself, so you can see, and we did home valuations. Last time I had a table like this, I think I went from 250 to like 650, but there's a lot of houses that are selling for $800,000-$900,000. I didn't go above that. I know there's houses that are selling for more than $1 million. I didn't go that far up, but you're looking at the top end of around $110 to $120 in Mendon. Same thing in Upton. I mean, the taxes are approximately the same, and it's based on the property valuation. That's the very top where you see
What did you
total
say,
valuation.
120?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
the roof.
But that's the roof. The facilities, you're looking at about between probably around 200 to 225 in that range in both towns. That's on an annual basis. And then the fields and grounds, you're looking at around 200 to 220 in both towns as well. Make sure I did the right tables there. If you put all three together, all three projects, let's say they all get approved, and there's no offset from CPA funding, you're looking at anywhere from around $500 to $600 a year, depending on where you live and how valuable your house is. That would be the total. And that it says down at the bottom, there's a 3% CPA surcharge in both towns. I've included that in there because that's part of it. But the CPA surcharge is what would helpfully offset any of the tax impact on the, you know, on the town side.
It's not $500 to $600. That's like the.
Well, for
the projected ceiling of.
right. Well, yeah, up to like the 800. I'm looking at the $800,000-$900,000 houses. I think a lot of houses are in that value range now.
Right now, we're at a median value of around 630.
Yeah, that's what I was told, is that the median, you know, the average value right now is around $650 in each town.
660.
So, but there's a lot of houses that are worth more. And you know, as I think someone said at our open hearing, when somebody pays $100,000 over asking price, suddenly that house is even worth more, even if it wasn't.
Well, that has to do more with how they're assessing property.
Well,
the cost per thousand, so.
anyway, so that's the tax impact on all three. That's it.
That's it. And we just have currently just extra additional slides in there. So if people are presenting and questions come up, we can show different data.
And as far as things to offset the cost, like we said, you know, the MSBA is one piece that we know for sure. CPA funding is the second piece, and I think both towns have expressed interest in doing that. The third piece would be potential fundraising that might get done for some of the field stuff. But the bottom line is that we still have to go to town meeting and get these amounts approved in order to move forward with the projects.
Okay, nice job. Questions? Seeing a little bit of this here.
I think you guys have seen it a few times already. I think Alyssa.
I feel like this is our first time we've done the whole, all of it together though, like at a school meeting. We've had it all the subcommittee meetings or talked about aspects of it.
Yep, absolutely.
But it's good in that it's a complete set of facts about what we've uncovered about the projects and how we want to execute them. So now it's up to people to get out there and talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, this is all stuff, all three of them are things that we do need to do. You know, there's needs on the school side, on the facilities, on the fields, on the roof. All these things are real issues that we need to solve at some point in some fashion. But we do need, the voters to support us as well.
Have you thought about what the most serious consequences are of not doing any of these projects at all, or?
I actually don't always think of things that way. We've been plugging
Jay,
along
you're
and trying to
Mr.
fix
Positive?
stuff.
Are you kidding? Are you trying to paint yourself as Mr. Positive?
Yes, what happens if they don't pass? We continue to do what we've been doing for the last 15 years, 10 years. on
There
various
are
things.
a few items that are critical, right? And we're gonna work, I think MUCP or someone's gonna work on kind of the impact, to be able to answer that specifically, but think about if we turn the breaker on those transformers and the power doesn't come back on and we need to replace all of it, then that's when we need to replace all of it. I mean, there are some, if a building management system doesn't work, then what happens?
Well, then you have rooms that are hot, you have rooms that are cold, and we have no ability to really control that other than to manually try and go and make adjustments.
So is it fair to say that the replacement costs will be reflected in the operational costs, which costs overrides and all 9 yards?
To a point, but I wouldn't go to the extreme to say if we don't get this, we'll have massive overrides.
No, I'm just saying, what are the consequences? I'm not saying.
Yeah,
We're
it
going-
increases your operational costs because things break down, and when things break down, you have to fix them at some point. Simon will finally get the tubas that he always wants to get every year because the water will come through the roof and rot them all away and rust them.
The leaks are, pretty major in the school, right?
Yeah.
You
Like
see
I would
them,
walk down
yeah.
the hallway and there's just trash cans set up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big rainy
Like in the
day.
history hallway,
Oh,
right?
yes,
Yeah, it's like
especially that.
pouring in when you have days like that, that's critical. And when it starts to potentially seep in and affect other systems as a result of it, failing even more. I'd hate to even talk about some of the impacts of the safety, but we have, if we don't have power at Misco and don't have a generator, and then we don't have school, so that we're not able to do that. And when you think about even bathrooms and lockers and how kids feel and the research and background on your school environment and impact on students and caring about our facilities that impact them, that's impacts learning and their well-being. The fields, people leave because our fields aren't up to par for what they need here. Some people do leave our district that could stay in our district. I get concerned when I hear about the safety issues, when I hear about a drop off of someone, tumbling off the softball field or, getting hurt on the field hockey field, etc. We aren't able to host anything for any, tournaments, etc., because we don't have the facilities, while other towns are growing those facilities and able to do those types of things as well. When we think about the fields, I could go on and on about impact, but there's a reason why this of the 1/3 of the list is our priority list right here. There were really important reasons as to why these are in our list, and then we're moving forward with them.
Questions? Thank you.
I was wondering would you be able to go to the website, Sam, just quickly?
The capital.
Yeah, if you just go to our regular website,
Oh.
to the homepage. Just want to show it. Just want to be able to show you how you're able to access it, or if people at home want to know how to get to the Capitol. Sorry, it's taking a little bit. I should have let you know in advance. I was
No.
gonna have you do that.
Thanks a little slow today.
All right, can you just go to the home page, please? Like, just click on the Mendon-Upton part, yeah. All right, so when you're on the home page and just scroll down a tiny bit, there, see a button right there, it's next to budget. It says capital project. Go to the left, right there. That will bring you right to that main capital project page. And then, which just has, if you scroll down so they can see the flyer. So it has the flyer right on that main page. Hopefully, we tried to keep it simple on that main page. And then if you click to the left, go on the left, scroll up a little bit, and you can just pick roof project. And then it says details, it brings you to the roof project. We're adding some pictures in there. I need more pictures to kind of add in, which I will. And then if you just scroll up a little bit and click on that drop down, the green. Yeah, and then it has, in essence, a little bit more information about our needs, the problem. It's all structured around the problems with it, and then the solutions and the benefits of going forward with the changes. So it's pretty simple, drop downs on all of it. People can go to that, and then that we haven't added the FAQs yet, but we will get those up. And I have a little info just on the building committee because we've received a couple questions about, who's, supervising and organizing. We'll add more about the OPM, and we haven't added that part in yet, but we'll add it underneath building committee. And then the tax impact, where he's just putting together kind of an easy to read sheet that we can put that information onto the website too. But that's some of our next phases, but we want to make sure as we get the initial information out, starting with this presentation, that we'll be able to keep adding to it as we go. And one example is this meeting tonight. We can direct people to this meeting in the overview. We can link in the presentation and then be able to have that. And then if there are any other videos that are made or et cetera, we can just add it to the website, and then people can get the information that they need. All right, thank you.
All right. School committee subcommittees. First up is budget subcommittee. Jim's not here tonight. I can cover it real quick. We did the open budget hearing 2 weeks ago today on the 10th. Jay Maureen since presented to the Mendon Select Board at FinCom on March 12th, and are scheduled to do the same groups with Upton on April 2nd. And just keep an eye on the budget as we get more and more information from the state, and tweak it from there. All right, policy subcommittee. Vicki?
We have two policies that were brought forward at the last meeting for first reading, so we're bringing them tonight for a second reading, and then the motion and vote to approve both. So those are IJNDB and IJNDC.
I can make a motion to approve IJNDB and IJNDC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A little out of order here from the notes, but we have a couple policies that we're bringing forward for a first reading. So those are CBD, superintendent's contract, and CPI, evaluation of the superintendent. We reviewed policy CCB, staff relations. We have no changes to that policy. And we have 3 policies that we are looking to waive the first reading because the changes that you put through to make that were like really minor, like correcting typos kind of thing. So those are CBA, CE, and CH. So motion vote to revise for those minor revisions.
I'd like to make a motion to pass those policies for minor revisions in policy implementation. Which one's the other one? Admin councils. And then staff relations, right?
No, policy.
Okay, policy implementation, right?
And recruitment. You can say that, yeah.
Yep. Okay, good. Excellent.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're good.
And one more, We have,
CBC.
thank you.
Yeah.
CBC, so this one, we are actually looking to remove the policy because it does not exist in the MASC policy, and we don't feel like we need to have this as a policy because the job description of all the postings are retained, so we have those job descriptions elsewhere, so we don't feel that we need a policy defining this.
I move to remove policy CBC for job descriptions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, anything else? Cool, thank you. We've got no updates from negotiation subcommittee. Carrie, anything on superintendent evaluations?
We'll be giving evidence again in April. Haven't met since February.
Okay, that's good. Matt, anything else on capital planning ad hoc committee?
We're meeting this week. Anything to add besides the half hour that Dr. Cohen spent attending cabinet. So
All right, sounds good. I think Wednesday night will be a good night. We go through it, we can talk a little bit more about the agenda, divide and conquer, and see how we want to start getting the word. Okay. All right, there's nothing that's come to me in the last 48 hours since we posted the meeting. So with that, take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor?